בקשת עצמי, בשיחה זו, בכל הצדיקים עובדים שבין, אבל הצדיקים עובדים המשך מיד קדוש, שם שבזה מפרק הבן הקדוש. צדיק יסוד יולים נחם בהם כוח עובדים נחמן מצמחו בהם פגה. זכותי יום יום כל סומים מעומק. This week, Bez Hashem, we're going to talk about Limud Torah, learning Torah. Talk about a few things about what is Limud Torah for, what's the proper way, and what do we gain. A few small little things we'll talk about. Because we could talk about learning Torah, like we speak about Gilgul, and for every Gilgul we could still be stuck in the same one subject of just the Torah. So what we're going to touch on is just a few little nice few things, a few good ideas. Everybody always talks about in Breslov the Tefillah and Isvayros, and nobody realizes the first Torah that Rav Nachman talks about is the koyach of learning Torah. And people know that the Chassidim of Breslov were tremendous lamdanim. Tremendous lamdanim, and every manik that's Breslov, what they say about Laser Berlin, it's everything. Every sefer about that, word for word. And you go through Levitz, Ben was a goner, but all of them, they're gonim. So everybody says, Yisrael, but the Rebbe says, first Torah the Rebbe talks about is learn Torah. We'll get to why the Rebbe says about learning Torah, besides the fact of learning Torah also. But so let's talk a little bit about Torah, what Torah is. Be'etzem Poshet, the reason why I learn Torah, if you look at the first glance, at the Torah, you said the reason why I'm learning Torah is one simple reason. When Hashem gives the Torah, blueprint. It's a blueprint in life. It gives us knowledge. Not knowledge like regular knowledge, God's knowledge, and how a human being should. We're here to serve Hashem, so we have to know what to do to serve Hashem. The do's and the do-nots. So really, the Torah is here to it's a guide, it's guidelines. So then you have Shas and Poskim and then Shulchan Aruch and all and a Kabbalah and everything, but it's really just to build on Yediyas HaTorah. Yediyas HaTorah brings a person to know when this situation arises, I do this, and when this situation arises, I do that. L'maisa, this avodah is something there's no end to it, because like we said, what's the Torah? The Torah represents the Rabbanu Shalom, Kavi Achol, because Rabbanu Shalom is obviously not the Torah, but it represents it to the Eibishter, and the Eibishter, there's no end to God, there's no end to the Torah, so there's no end to the idea of Torah. But we do as much as we can, because we do live for a certain amount of years, because up to 120, all of us, and to fulfill our tikkun, we have to follow the ways and the rules and the guidelines. Be'etzem, the Medrash Mishlei in Perek Yud, says over there, brings down a very, very famous thing that we know about. The Gemara says, actually, it's the Gemara also. The Gemara says the famous thing that when a person's nifter, when a person passes away and goes on to the next world, to the real world, one of the first questions is, did you, with Emunah, did you do Emunah questions? And the next question is, do you learn Torah? Over here, the Mishlei says even more. The Baruch Shem turns to the tzaddik who comes up to Shamayim, to the Yid, and he says, you learn Torah? He says, yeah, learn Torah. Learn Torah today. The person was living 10 minutes ago, I learned Torah. Baruch Shem says, I learned Torah. Baruch Hashem. I don't know if he says Baruch Hashem, but I'm used to say Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem, I'm used to say Baruch Hashem. All of us. But he says to the tzaddik, did you learn? He says, what did you learn? I learned a Pasuk, Mishnah, Mikra, something, Halacha. What was that? So tell me what you learned. He starts telling what he learned. It says over there that the Rebbe starts going through Mikra, Mishnah, Gemara, and everything with him. It says over there, if somebody doesn't know one of the things, the Rebbe turns his face away from him. Now, now let's understand what that means. This Rabbi Shmuel says, this Atana, Rabbi Shmuel says, oy vavoy to the person that doesn't know when the Rebbe Shem turns, because then the Rebbe Shem turns away. And nobody wants the Rebbe Shem to turn away from him. But it's very hard to understand this. I didn't really look into this so much, or, what does that mean? Most Jews don't know everything, so what does that mean? So the Rebbe Shem is going to turn away from him. The answer is obviously, in my opinion, in my lowly opinion, I think the answer is, as we know, that the Rebbe always talks about rotzing. A Yid has to have a rotzing. A Yid who wants to have Yediyas HaTorah. Let's say somebody, I'll give you an example. A Yid that's, Nebuch, a Yid that was left at 20 years old. He was a gibor, and he sat and he learned, but he didn't have enough time to finish everything. So what does that mean? So Hashem said, turn away from him, chas v'shalom, I think the pshat is, it's done, the Rebbeinu Shalom judges the person on his rotzah. That's what it is. The point is, when somebody wants, because he knows the heiligkeit, the holiness of the Torah, and he wants to know every single ois in the Torah, because every ois, the Gemara on Shabbos says, that Rabbi Kiva used to darshan how the letters were written, the ksiv, the ktivo, and the crowns of the Torah. If you want to know all these things, that's the rotzing. The rotzing is you want. After that, whatever happens, happens. About you have to try your best, but if you don't finish, we're human beings, and things happen. But this is somebody saying, Torah, what do I have to, whatever, I learn a few things, okay, Shabbos, I understand. But if you want to learn about what a kohen does in Beis HaMikdash, I am not a kohen, that shows because you want Yediyas HaTorah. And we'll be masber why, if Torah is just for Yediyah, that I should know what to do, so I'm not a kohen, so I don't have to know what to do and what to not. So when I come and see the Torah, it's not just to know about what to do and what not to do. Like we just showed, we have to learn Maseches Vochim. You have to shach the korban. You have to pour the blood. Kohen does it. I'm not a kohen, you're a kohen. I'm not a kohen, so I don't have to learn Zvachim. Torah says be after. It says you have to do, we just showed it, Rebbeinu Shalom turns and everything. So he said at least the will they do. I want to know Zvachim. That's why the Gemara says in Sukkah, Chav Chesam Ed Aleph, the Gemara brings down that Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai, there was no time that he didn't walk around, Mishnah, Mikra, Tal, everything, everything. Pshat is because he understood that. He had to know everything. He had to know everything. When he came to the peasant Shamaylo, the Rebbeinu Shalom returned to him, Rebbeinu Shalom himself comes and says, show me what you learned. Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai said, show the Eibusha. I don't want to show the Eibusha. I don't even know one, that I don't know one ice of his Torah, chas v'sholom. He used to walk around everything in his Torah. That's why, it's an unfortunate thing, especially by me. There was many years that you get so into the whole lumdus of Gemara and deep and Kabbalah and things that you forget about the Chumash and Rashi of the week. And you have to grab it on a Friday and not even learn it. I'm not even talking about the Ramban. I'm talking about Chumash Rashi. So some say don't go too deep into Chumash Rashi because we're supposed to learn Gemara more because we're not on the level to understand what the Mikra is talking about the Gemara. But at least the Chumash Rashi to learn every day a little bit, to understand, But Tanakh, everything, which Yeshiva is what I learned. Yeshua 4 times over and over, the same Yeshua, the same parak. Okay, we're not here to talk with Chas v'Shalom on anything, but I'm just saying that you're supposed to learn everything. That's why you should break up your Sidorim into many different things, not just Gemara. Obviously, Gemara is the main thing. We should have Chumash a half hour, Halacha an hour, and different things. So really, that's what it says in Chazal. Chazal says also what a person learns, he should be toughest in his hands. It should be held in his hands. He should grab it. Everything he learned. Because the mice, when he comes up to Shemayim, he has it in his hands. He'll have something to answer. But we just said be'etzem that Torah can't be just for Yediyah. We just brought rayas. We don't have to learn about a kohen. We don't have to learn about certain things. Certain mitzvahs don't even apply until Mashiach comes. So or people live in Chutz La'aretz. We have to learn about things that apply in Eretz Yisrael. Torah is something more than that. Yediyas Torah is an aspect of Torah, but the higher level of the Torah is to attach yourself to the Torah, to the aura of the Torah, to be dovek in the Torah. Learning the Torah is for the Torah itself, not that the Torah brings to the Maisim, because by actually learning the Torah, that in itself is the reason. Not because I'm learning Torah so I know what to do in this situation. I'm learning Torah because when I'm learning Torah, I'm being dovuk in the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's the reason for learning Torah. So anything that has to do with Torah, anything that has to do with Chochmas Elokim, like we said, is bringing my neshama closer to the Rebbeinu Shalom. So it doesn't matter if it applies to me or it doesn't. If I'm a kohen or not. But the fact is that this is the Chochmas Hashem. So anything that I put my mind to, I attach myself to the Rebbeinu Shalom. So any word, That's why, if you ever realize, your neshama wants this always, that if you go to some place and there's no svarim, but there's one sefer that's a sefer you never look at, you grab it and you look at it, anything, it's like the only sefer that's there. Because the neshama wants so much of Chachmas Elokim, the Chachma of the Rebbeinu Shalom, that it just, any sefer you see has Hebrew writing, you just make sure there's not Apikars, Sefira, you're reading halfway through it already, you know, because the whole Torah is it's not for Yediyah only, it's to connect my neshama to the Rebbeinu Shalom, which is tachas to this world. The Rebbeinu Shalom was here to connect itself to the Rebbeinu Shalom. The Rebbeinu Shalom gave us certain ways to connect to him. He spoke about it in the shir about the tefillin, whole thing about tefillin. This is another way through Talmud Torah. Torah is the machine, is the machshir, is the to connect the neshama with the Rebbeinu Shalom, to bring it back, to get out of your guf and be only in your mind with the Rebbeinu Shalom. That is really the higher level, and that's really the tachlis of learning Torah. The tachlis of learning Torah is to be mizdabik, to be attached with the Holy One above, with the Rebbeinu Shalom, with my Father, with your Father and your Father, our Father. Now, this is Pshat Enecham of the Zohar. Zohar says, a famous Zohar. Zohar says there's three things that are attached to each other: Rebbeinu Shalom, Am Yisrael, and the Torah. Kodesh Brichu, Yisrael, the Torah, Yisrael, Chad. It's one thing. So that's why, how do you get close to Rebbeinu Shalom? How do you attach yourself to the Torah? You attach yourself to the Torah, you attach yourself to Rebbeinu Shalom. Also, it's very important. I mean, there was somebody's name is Ravam Fish. She was from Big Lamvav Tzadikim of that generation. He one time said, you know why I came to this Madrego? Tremendous Ruach HaKodesh. She saw the Gilei Navi, unbelievable things. He said, you know why I came to such a place? Where I saw Hashem openly, like, you know, the shchit, things, unbelievable things, because of what I did for other Yidden. Same thing. Because just like there's people who got through Torah, he said he got it through, obviously he was a Gaon also, but he said we came through because Kodesh Brichu, the Rebbeinu Shalom, Yidden and Torah is one thing. So somebody attaches himself to Am Yisrael more and more, deeper, just like he attaches himself to the Torah. He's really essentially attaching himself more to Rebbeinu Shalom. The more you attach yourself to Rebbeinu Shalom, the more shefa you get and the more elevated you become. That's what he said. Now, this is the Zohar, by the way, in Chilek Gimel Ein Gimel Aleph. That's the place where Zohar says the famous thing of Kodesh Brichu and the Torah and Am Yisrael is one thing. Now, the Ramban in Akdama, his Akdama to the Torah, the Ramban writes a fascinating thing. Ramban writes, you know what the Torah is? Torah, from every ois to every single thing, is Sheimos of the Rebbeinu Shalom. The Rebbeinu Shalom has infinite names, though just names, obviously that's not what the Rebbeinu Shalom is. The Rebbeinu Shalom is not a name, but it represents certain things of the Rebbeinu Shalom. And each ois and each thing of the word, each word in the Torah is another Shem for the Rebbeinu Shalom. And the more you know Kabbalah, the more Sheimos you know. Which is why how is it that Mekubalim are able to change Teva? The stories about Mekubalim are able to change Teva. It's a Metzias. Torah is through Sheimos. They say about the Baal Shem Tov that he used to change Teva, not through Sheimos. Through his Pashte Emunah and Bitochen, because he was at such a high level of Emunah, he didn't need Sheimos. But the Mekubalim, the Sheimos, it's also a pretty big thing, let's see, But because Sheimos is really easier Rebbeinu Shalom, so they were using the Sheimos Rebbeinu Shalom to change Teva, because who made the Teva? What's Teva? Teva is what? Is same thing as Elokim. 91. Right? Because Rebbeinu Shalom is Teva. Chazon Ish writes, what's Teva? Rebbeinu Shalom's will. That's Teva. So, really, it's not like they forced Rebbeinu Shalom, but Rebbeinu Shalom gave tzaddikim the ability, when they're mekadosh themselves, to use certain shims to change Teva. And so somebody who, that's just another thing that you see. So you see people, Torah, because when they're learning Torah, they're attaching themselves so much to Hashem, and the Shem is Hashem, they're able to do amazing things. But obviously that's not the reason why they learn to change Teva, but okay. But the Ramban says that the Torah mamish, so another thing, you see from the Ramban, that how you dofik in the Rebbeinu Shalom through Torah, because when you're learning Torah, you're attaching yourself to Shem is Hashem, to Hashem. So Ramban writes. And he writes, a toitzah from this is, he writes over there in Akdama, that from this, that you attach yourself to Hashem, by learning the Torah with Shem is Hashem, what does it say in Mesach's office? It says in office in Perek Vav that something becomes usual to you, becomes your nature. So he says, if you start learning Hashem, coming close to Hashem, your usual way is you follow Hashem. So you won't end up doing an Avera. How do you end up not doing an Avera? Avera it's so easy. But when it comes in your, somebody, let's take an example. Somebody wants to wash Netilas Yadayim by his bed, right? It won't be, his teva is that he won't walk Dal Ams without washing his hands. Because it's already in his, it changes the files over here. That's what Ramban saying. Because somebody learns Torah, he's being more davik than Rebbeinu Shalom. He's being more davik to the real teva. Because teva is Rebbeinu Shalom, so the more you davik in the teva, the more the teva. Teva. I mean, there's no teva, it's all Rebbeinu Shalom. That's also a mazel. You hear people say, such a mazel. It's in the words Apikoros. What's mazel? If you know what's mazel, so Rashi Baba Kama, and the Beis says mazel is that there's a malach that watches over you. The Rebbeinu Shalom gives a malach that's melech, it watches over you, and it gives you advice. Sometimes that's not mazel, that's a shkocha protesh from the Rebbeinu Shalom that sends a shliach. So, pashut, but that bothers me, that word mazel. Mazel tov, so, the tov, I guess, tov is really, somehow switches the mazel around a little bit. Okay, but the point is, that's what the Ramban says from the Torah. The Torah is Mama Sheimos of the Eibishter. Tzirufei. Different tzirufim of the Sheimos of the Rebbeinu Shalom. Be'etzem, something unusual, it's amazing, there's a pshat there, the Noam HaMelech, I'll read you from the Rebbe HaMelech, Parshas Vayero. The HaMelech writes, Oy Yom Vayero, this is his Lashon. Very amazing Lashon. Dehine, kisha ola b'rtzoni yizborach livroyis ha'olam lehetel l'brach. When it went in his will, came up in his will, it says the Rebbeinu Shalom had machshava and then he created the world. We don't speak about what the machshava is, doesn't matter, we won't get into that. The pshitas of the thing, the posh pshat is over here. The Rebbeinu Shalom wanted to create the world to give good to Am Yisrael. Tzimtzim HaKadosh Baruch Hu was atzma. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made himself, he was mitzamtzim himself. The Kabbalah Mamazbir that how did he create this world? And it Mavadu still is a tzimtzum. The Rebbeinu Shalom, the infinite light. If it's infinite, how are we all here? So that he was master the light that we can exist. How that works, Rav Nachman said that we won't understand. Nobody can understand until Mashiach comes, lost and lovely, which could be even Olam Haba or after Mashiach. That I don't know. I never clarified. But the point is, it also has to do with Bechira and Bechira, because the question, how do I Bechira? The Rebbeinu Shalom knows already. It's really, it ties into the Tzimtzum, because the Rebbeinu Shalom's here at the same time as I'm here, so how do I have my own choice? It's only one big, it's really one big question if you look at it from all sides. But the point is, let's continue. He says, Lehecha Tzimtzum etz atzmoi. Where did the Rebbeinu Shalom mitzamtzim? Where did he make himself small? Into what? Shamati mipi Moirizal. Rabbi Melech was a Talmud of the Maggid of Lemizrich. Shetzimtzim atzmoi b'toich oisis ha'Torah. The Rebbeinu Shalom hid himself inside the words of the Torah. Shebehem bara oilam. V'omar shezeh pirush. And this is the pirush she'amru Chazal, the Gemara in Eruvin. He doesn't bring down, but it's a famous Gemara in Eruvin. The Gemara in Eruvin says that it's Eruvin in Chof Beis, the Chof Beis, and in Yuma Gimel Beis. The Gemara says, "V'zeh pirush amru Chazal kaviyochol Baruch Hashem." What does it mean kaviyochol Baruch Hashem? The Gemara says kaviyochol Baruch Hashem. Ratzalaimer aidei Chof Beis asfin yochol Kadosh Baruch Hu yes v'zeh. He said it's very simple. How many oisis are in the Torah? Aleph Beis 22. What's Kavi Yochel? Chof Beis Yochel. Through the Rebbeinu Shalom hid himself in the Chof Beis Oisis of the Torah. Yochel HaKadosh Baruch Hu could be in this world while we're in this world. Because the Rebbeinu Shalom had to himself in the Torah, and through those that he himself in the 22 Oisis of Chof Beis, Yochel is able to be in this world with us, meaning that there's room for Ki'ilu, Kavi Yochel, room for him and us together. So what do you see from here also? Torah is not just a deal. Torah is Hashem. The Rebbeinu Shalom was mitzamtzim himself in the Torah alone, in the Torah herself, in the Torah, the Heilige Torah. And that's Kav Yochel, Chof Beis, because of 22 is Yochel, he could be with us. That's what Melech says over here. And that's Pshat the Gemara in Eruvin, Chof Beis, and the Gemara in Yuma, of Gimel Beis. Now, and he writes over there, Weiter, I'm sorry, I want to just finish off his Lashon. His Lashon is, Weiter, Rav Melech says, V'atzadik, and the tzadik oisik b'Torah l'shmo, that's oisik in Torah l'shmo, b'kedusha, with holiness. Umamshich saboy baruch hu, he's mamshich Rebbeinu Shalom to him. V'yisala b'tich oisik shal Torah, k'moy b'shas abriyo. He mamish becomes so far, so much connected to Rebbeinu Shalom that before B'riyas ha'olam, before the Rebbeinu Shalom created the world, because the Rebbeinu Shalom created the world, he had to hide himself into the Torah. But he is coming into the Torah, into the Rebbeinu Shalom, which is before B'riyas ha'olam. That's the koyach. When somebody learns Torah, can be mitzaref, metchabi, can be attach himself to the Rebbeinu Shalom even before, to the bechin of even before the world was created. That's the koyach of tzaddikim. People learn the shmo. What's the shmo? I'm learning because I want, not just because the Rebbeinu Shalom commanded me. That's a little bit of shmo. Because I want to give a nachas ruach to the Rebbeinu Shalom. What's Mesilas Yesharim start off? Mesilas Yesharim? Everything is to lasis nachas ruach liyotzur. The person has to do a nachas ruach to his creator. Famous word of Baal Shem Tov. Shem Tov used to always say, our job has to be give a nachas ruach to Rebbeinu Shalom, nothing else. That's pure bittul to Rebbeinu Shalom. Do nachas ruach. What's going to be in Olam Haba? What's this, that? There's nothing. Nachas ruach liyotzur. How do you come to such a darga? Through learning Torah. Like the Gemara says, shaloi l'shmo bal l'shmo. When you start learning Torah because you know that's life, then you come to these madrigas, so higher. But also, like we know, through his pleasures, talking in the fields, and I'm begging the Rebbeinu Shalom, like the Rebbe said, through Tehillim, I'm begging the Rebbeinu Shalom, I'm crying, saying, Rebbeinu Shalom, I want to do it the right way, but it's not possible. So that's the pshat in l'shmo. You talk shaloi l'shmo bal l'shmo, because even shaloi l'shmo could be l'shmo but on a lower level. Obviously, it costs me shaloi l'shmo but pshitis, that you're doing it for gaiva, which is terrible, it's averus, but so there, I don't know. There, actually, maybe it's better not to learn if you do have a gaiva. But shaloi l'shmo, you're doing it because you have nothing better to do, or because it's fun. So it's not for gaiva, but it'll bring into the better things. But I just want to point out the Iglei Tal, the Avnei Nezer and Iglei Tal, famous in his Akdoma. He writes over there that people make a mistake and say that people will have a pleasure from their learning that's lo l'shmo. He says dafka afuch. He says you have to have pleasure from your learning. That's what the Rebbeinu Shalom wants. So you're doing l'shmo because you're doing what the Rebbeinu Shalom wants. He says the big mistake that for someone make. Somebody did tell me that Shlomo Kluger and all this tzaddikim did write that it isn't the biggest l'shmo, but the Avnei Nezer says that the tachlis is the most l'shmo, to have simcha from the learning. It's two shittas, but he brings a right from the Rambam. He brings a right because Rambam says that Hashem created the Torah also to beat Torah. He says how do I beat Torah? Only through the simcha of learning. Just like what is this the Torah? He brings the simcha of taivas, simcha of taivas. You have to beat him out with the simcha of learning. So if you're not going to beat him out with simcha of learning, then you're defeating the whole purpose. Because to detach yourself into Rebbeinu Shalom, you can't do it also by breaking your taivas first. You only can break your taivas to tefillah and learning. It's a whole different parsha. The point is though that it's just shaloi l'shmo bal l'shmo. But that's the point. The last nechs ruach liyotzur, like the Mesilas Yesharim says, and Baal Shem Tov always said. Now, so through that, the tzaddik can mamish come into the Rebbe Melech says he can mamish come into the tachlis of tachlis before the bria even, whatever that means. You know, when you're there, I guess you know what it is, right? Like everything, you know. I was thinking about it today. You know, you always hear the person has Ruach HaKodesh. So they ask the tzaddik, what do you mean you have Ruach HaKodesh? The one time I asked the tzaddik, you see things like a vision and things. I can't explain it. It's something, it's a seichel. I said, just think about it. You tell a blind guy to see. You just understand what that means. You can't have a soga. Everything the Rebbeinu Shalom created, your mom can find in the world something that can give you an example to the things that you want to understand. You know, there's a famous song from Journey. There's two children in a body inside the mother's stomach. And one says, you think there's something outside of here? There's everything over here, food, what else is there? This is the whole tachas of the world. So sitting in here for food, and then what? And after 9 months they go out. So that's the world. People over here in the world, it's really something more than this world. Some people have shilas and everything. One guy says, something more than just all the taivas here. He says, this is the tachas, whoever created it, tachas is for this world. And then after 120, they all see the emes. They go out of the stomach. They go out of this stomach of the world. Pregnancy. Into the pregnancy, exactly. But let's go weiter a little bit. So now that, by the way, it says, through limud Torah, so through limud Torah, through attaching yourself to Rebbeinu Shalom, you can mamish mekadesh yiguf, your machshava, everything. Rebbeinu Shalom gave us the Torah because Torah is everything. Why is it chayenu? Because it's every aspect. It teaches us everything. It's a blueprint for the good times and bad times in life. You see the good times, And then you see the bad times, Mitzrayim, and how they dealt with fears. People have anxiety today. I was thinking about giving a share about anxiety, actually, about where it comes from, all that. We're talking about something else, but I'll tie it in a little bit, just to show the Koach HaTorah. People with anxiety, psychologists and things, I'm not coming to say you should go, not go, that's not the point. The point is that the Torah is the biggest psychologist. The Torah talks about everything. It talks about anxiety and fears. The Torah says in Parshas Kiseitz, when you go out to Melchama, so the Kehanim used to get up and say, whoever's scared, don't go out. Chaim's masber over there, why? Why is he scared? Because of his Averis. All anxiety, all panic comes like that. It's bullshit. The Torah is telling you, everything comes from the soul. It's all because of Averis. Like the Gemara says, any strong B'li'oven, more on Shabbos. There's no pain without sin. But besides that, the Torah is everything, from the simplest things to the most complex. It's everything. So you can even kaddish yourself, you can grow better, you become a better person. You name it. The Torah and Tefillah, it's one. Torah and Tefillah is one. Now, also, interesting is, I saw one of the Svarim says that Torah is also in all times. The Kol Zman in all times. What does it mean by Kol Zman? What do you mean? What is he trying to say? Pshat is like this. Listen to this. In the whole Torah, by all the Yom Tovim, it says exactly the day. Pesach Tesvav, Sukkot Tesvav. Which day? The 15th of this month, 15th of this month, the 8th of this, whatever. I'm just bringing it down. Rosh Hashanah is Rosh Hashanah. One of the Chagim, of the holidays of the Chagim, it's not brought down in the Torah the exact day. It just says how many days. Matan Torah. It says 50 days after, right? They got the Torah, and that's what. It doesn't say though on this day of the month. What's the pshat? Pshat is like this. Somebody who sits today, let's say today, it's in the summer, and somebody says, you know what, I'm going to sit down to a Pesach Seder, I'm going to turn the lights down, make candles and white and everything. Besides, it's going to be so depressing because you know that you're fooling yourself. But you got that out of your mind. You do it to the full extent. There's nothing. You're not doing anything. Why is that? Why are you not doing anything? And even there's problems with many mitzvahs because Baal Taisif, you're not allowed to add on. What's the pshat? Pshat is beautiful because be'etzim, what's the pshat in the Yom Tov? Because the oiris that were brought down on that day of the Chag, when Am Yisrael went out, on that specific day there were certain oiris and tremendous shafan oiris that came down, with spiritual lights that came down onto this world. And Am Yisrael accepted it, but only on that day. The Kedusha was only for that day, so you go on 3 months later and do it, the Kedusha is not there. For that specific thing, the Kedusha is for something else. But Torah believes manim, because the Kedusha of Sheimos and Matan Torah, that's every second. There's no limit, there's no when, any time of the day. Torah is Azak Kedusha. Torah is always bringing out Shefa and Or. Torah is always that machine, the Machshir. Torah is always getting that Shefa, it's always the Klif, the Shefa. That's what it means, that Torah Kegi Ahab believes manim. Because the other Yom Tovim, besides Shavuos, is the date. Shavuos is no day, because Shavuos you can accept every single day. Because you're supposed to accept the Torah every single day, no. Right? Every second. Like the Rebbe says, what does the Rebbe Nachman say? Every day you're a new person. Every day start like you never did anything in your life. Hayoim Mikali Sishmo. Look at every day, only Hayoim I have today to listen to B'nai Shalom. That's the Koach Torah. That is Torah B'liz Manim. Torah is B'liz Manim. Now, what's interesting is, the Bach, in Siman Mem Zayin, Or Chaim, the Bach writes, in Or Chaim Siman Mem Zayin, he writes something incredible. He writes that, you know why there was Chorban Beis HaMikdash? Because Am Yisrael in that time was learning Torah just to know Torah. And for that only. That's what Bach says. What do we say? There's two aspects of Torah. There's just for Yediyah, but that's not, it's supposed to be Dovak the Rabbanu Shalom. They were learning just for Yediyah, and that's what brought Chorban Beis HaMikdash. That's what the Bach says. What does that mean? Let's explain. Also, you don't find the Bach really talking about these types of things. Usually the Bach is halacha. You know. So it could be also, he's saying it for halacha also. Limit Torah is not just limit Torah, it's mamish to be Dovak the Rabbanu Shalom, the Nefesh, Evorim. What's Torah? Torah is the Sagidim, and then the Ramach Evorim, and the Mitzvah Hasem, it's Leis Hasem. It's not just for Yediyah, it's the whole Gof and Neshama, and being Mavati goes to Neshama, and that's only through Torah. That's the Bach. Let me say halacha, you know what I mean? But the pshat is like this. The Gemara, there's a pasuk in Yirmiyah in Perek Tes, Posuk Yudalef from basically it says that Yirmiyah is talking about Yirmiyah is talking about the ways they weren't going in the right way, the Yidden, and he says over there, he talks about Mia ish hachacham miyoven ezois, who wants to be the chacham, the smart person, and understand this, and then he continues, and he says continues, and then he says, in the end, ashelo holchuba. The ones that not is the ones who aren't chacham is because they didn't go with her, with the Torah. Pshat is, what does that mean? Yirmiyah wasn't saying, Yirmiyah was the times of Chorban, which is the times that the Bach was talking about. The Bach says the Chorban was because they were doing it for Yiddiya Torah. If you look in Yirmiyah is mashma that they were learning Torah. They were learning Torah. But they were learning Torah just for Yiddiya Torah. Ashelo chuba. You didn't go with the Torah. You didn't start going with the Torah to be mizdavik in your nefesh, lishma, to grow with your connection to Rabbeinu Shalom. You went only for Yiddiya Torah. That's why catastrophe fell. The Bach is built on the Psukim Yirmiyah. Torah Agdosha is not just Yiddiya Torah. Torah Agdosha Avada is not for Hashem Yishmor and Gaiva, to take it for Gaiva and for, to do. A lot of people even take the Torah and twist it around to do what they want to do. Because they're such Go'oinim, they'll prove to you how they can drive on Shabbos. Or they can do this. Like the Apikarsim, Chas v'Shalom. And Gaiva, it's still the same thing, because you're all destroying the Hashem's Torah if they're giving it to such a Achra, Chas v'Shalom. But we're talking about even somebody's learning just for Yiddiya Torah. It's also. Because the Rebbe gives the Torah to be dovak in him, not just to know what to do in life. Because what's the difference if I put on a kippah, a yarmulke, and I put on tzitzis? Now that I did, so what? Because Raj wants us to know that when we're putting on tzitzis, we're being dovak in him. And when we're doing this mitzvah, and we do the correct thing, we help with this old lady across the street, or we get up on the bus, we're helping ourselves also get closer to the Rebbe Shalom. That's the pshat. Now, it's interesting is, I don't like talking about people or anybody in Am Yisrael, but I'd like to say an example. It could be it's my chisaron, but it's also, there's a point to the story. I remember I was in 10th grade. I was in a summer camp in New York. And a big Rav, a big Rosh Yeshiva came from a yeshiva, and he gave a shir there, and everybody lined up, and people were talking to him, and people were trying, big name. Ooh, big name, I went over to him, and I was a 10th grader. Every 10th grader just wants to talk to this lamdin because everything you looked up to is a lamdin. It comes from an innocence. So you try to find any question you can, even if it's not such a strong question, just so you could talk to him, just so he could give you a nice remark to strengthen you. And I go over to him and I asked him a pshat and a k'tzai sechoish, and the k'tzai says a certain shayla, and I asked him, why is this like this? So he just went like this to me. Why wouldn't it be like that? If he knew the pain that he caused me, that he ripped away all my excitement, even if the excitement was coming from because I just wanted to talk to him and not because of the learning, but it was such an innocent thing that I was doing because I was so innocent. I looked up to these people like they were God, ki'ilu, they were messengers of God. He couldn't say to me, it's a nice question, and even if it was a stupid question, listen, it's a good question, I just don't have time to talk about it, just to make me feel good so I can continue wanting to, you have to put me in my place. And then later on I realized it was a good kasha actually, but it didn't matter, it wasn't the point. To me, no respect for people like that. That's Yiddiya Torah only. They want to know Torah. I don't want to talk Lashon Hara, it could be just for the gaiva so that everybody says their names, Rav this, Rav that. When they go up there, they'll think also, Rav, everybody's in a job. I'm not talking about him specifically, the R. I don't want to talk about Am Yisrael. But even just for Yiddiya Torah, it's not enough. The Torah is supposed to bring you to be closer to Rebbe Shalom, that you know when a kid does come to you, to have in your head that he's coming to you because he has that excitement, and that you can help him with that excitement, to lower yourself down a little bit. You're not the Rebbe Shalom, don't think you're God. Lower yourself down, give a kid a smile and say, it's a beautiful question, that's a beautiful thought, but maybe this, maybe that. Instead, just this grunted thing, because he's this and that, and it can destroy a kid forever. Because a kid, you can make an impression on a kid in a second. That's Yiddiya Torah. That's what you're just doing for Yiddiya Torah. I know. But is it changing you? Is it changing your midas? Changing your midas is being David and Rabbanah Shalom through Torah. If you were being David and Rabbanah Shalom, you would turn to the kid and give him a smile and say, good question. Just like Rabbi Zalman Meltzer used to do, the Tribuna Rav, and all the Gdolim all the stories, that any kid that came to him, they gave him the time of day, even if it was, and like I hear of Berlin, they should have Bezat Hashem Bris, Bezat Hashem, and she lived to 120 and being Mafetz Rabbeinu. Berlin said, the stories of Berlin, Mamish, after 4 hours share of Kabbalah and everything, they saw him sitting down with a 5-year-old kid and teaching him Aleph Beis for a half hour. That's a Koyach B'Tzadik. But to give a 10th grader the little shoulder, because you know, that's the idea of Torah. That's not. Vegas or Rosh you give the time of day to a 3-year-old. Because that's what Torah teaches you. That every neshama counts, at every age and everything. And that's what the Ramban is saying by Oisis in the Torah. Because what's the Rebbe Shalom? The Rebbe Shalom doesn't give a time of day to a 3-year-old. Rebbe Shalom gives time of day to a 3-year-old just like he gives a time of day to a 7-year-old. Because there's no time, there's no age in Rebbe Shalom. It's all baloney. It's one big story. Time. Time is an illusion. White beard. Up there, there's no beards, there's no nothing. Up there, it's neshamas. We're supposed to emulate the Rebbe Shalom. This is what Rabbeim do. They take a kid and they put him on the 5-year-old kid and they put him in his place that he didn't get a 100 on his test. You think the Rebbe Shalom is testing him on his test? Rebbe Shalom is testing him on his rotzing. On his rotzing. And it's not a cliche. Yes, there should be, I was just talking to my brother, in report cards and kids, there should be only effort. There shouldn't be any marks and tests. You're going to mark a kid on his tests? Mark a kid on his rotzing. Because all the kid has when he's our age, 20 and over, when there's no more tests, it's only about our will in life. It's not about the end. Because in the end, most of the times we don't even get it. Because we shoot for the stars. But it's a good thing we shoot for the stars. Because Baruch Ber Leibowitz one time said, you know how I became a Baruch Ber? I wrote Birchei Shmuel because I wanted to always be Rabbi Akiva Eiger. So Chesky will be Chesky, B'ezrat Hashem. But that's because Chesky wanted to be Rav this, who is a tzaddik and a kodesh. But today they mix up everything and they teach kids, they don't teach Emunah, they don't teach Torah. Torah is idea, more, finish another daf. But what is it to me, my animal, damage on an animal, how does that bring me to Rebbe Shalom? How does that help me? Today people walk around with oxen in the streets, people walk around with a horse. Last time I checked. The ox ate the guy's farm in the garden. I'm walking around Meir Sharm, I don't see farms over there. The answer is because everything is Dveikus and Hashem. That's the answer. Now, like this. That's when Kubalim say something. Kubalim say something very interesting. Kubalim say that just like a yid, every yid has nefesh. He has nefesh, the lowest ruach and neshama, and then we say chayachid about something. But we'll stick with the nefesh, ruach, and neshama. So to the Torah is nefesh, ruach, and neshama. There's 3 neshamas to the Torah itself. Then Kubalim say. So I saw the Kubalim Amazber. So somebody learns to the lowest level. He's just being makash himself as neshama, is nefesh, and that's only till el masir. Somebody who's makash himself into the Torah deeper, he's already his ruach, which is already the Olam Yisrael. And the more you go, the higher you go. So the idea is just Olam Masiyah. You want to play, let's just Olam Masiyah. Everything we do over here is just a counter effect for Olam Yisrael, the effect that we do. That we're learning Torah to get closer to Rabbanu Shalom. That's the fact. Not to be the Maggid Shir in a certain yeshiva. And not to think about the Rebbe Shalom for 7 years straight in your life, because you don't have time, because you're thinking about the shir you have to give all day to your bachrim, so they shouldn't think that maybe you don't know Shas Spalpeh. I grew up in a certain society, and it hurts me, because I think many people are going the wrong way, and later on it hits them, and they don't know how to change it. So start now, Chevra, right? Now, let's continue a little bit. The Maiso, we always speak about the Oreganos, the infinite light, the Rebbeinu Shalom, that the Rebbeinu Shalom created, and then he hid. Now we're not going to talk about what Oreganos is, because we always talk about it, and we said the Pshitas of Oreganos is that everything's for the best, B'chin of Shabbos, we spoke about the other Shurim, the deep Kabbalah aspects, we're going to state that there's a certain or, that what the Gemara says in Chagiga. The Gemara in Chagiga says in Yud Beis on the base, in Yud Beis on Aleph, sorry, the Rebbeinu Shalom created, on the first day, the Rebbeinu Shalom created the world with, there's a light, the infinite light, the Oreganos. The Rebbeinu Shalom wanted to give it over to the world. But when he saw that there's going to be a Dora Flog and a Dora Mabel, and I don't think it just means a Dora Flog and Dora Mabel then, it means all the generations of Dora Flog and Dora Mabel, not because and everything. But Rebbeinu Shalom saw that Rosh Hashanah would use it for the wrong things, because with this Oreganos you can see the future, the past, everything together. And I think this is the Pshat also in Sipur Maisis, where Nachman talks about how people are looking for the map called the Landkart. The Landkart is a map that you could see how the whole worlds are shaped and all the worlds above and what's going to be and everything. And I don't know, I don't think it means a map physical. I think what it means, it could be that there are means over there, could be I'm wrong, I have to look at the Purusha, but I would say that the Pshat is that means the organos over there. The tzaddikim are able to get, like we'll explain. Oh, and it says over there in the Gemara that Rebbe Shalom hid the organos, and he hid the organos for the tzaddikim la'asad lavoi. I'll get back to what I was just saying about Tzipur because I have to say something before. So the question is, what it seems in the Gemara is that there's no organos today. Organos is hidden for la'asad lavoi, when Mashiach comes, Alam Haba. And that's where we bask in the glory, the famous bask in the glory. Nobody even realizes it comes from, what's the glory? The organos, the infinite light, Everything's Makars in the Torah. Now, I'll tell you a fascinating thing. Steht in Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov says, where did Rebbe Shalom hide the organos? And it works with the Noam Elimelech we just said, in the Torah. In the Oasis of the Torah. The Rebbe Shalom hid in Chassidus and Kabbalah. They say, where did Rebbe Shalom hide the organos? In the Oasis of the Torah. What's the organos, Be'etzem? It's a lakos, it's Rebbeinu Shalom. Obviously Rebbeinu Shalom is not our organos because Rebbeinu Shalom is above that. But the highest thing we understand is we call it an organos. Why do we call it or? We'll explain because in this world even we can understand what's the most clean and shiny and beautiful thing. It's light. So lahavdil to the higher worlds we take the word light. It's not a light like we see a light bulb. Now, so that's also what it means. The Rebbeinu Shalom hid himself. Now he said Torah. It means that he hid the organos, which is him. It's not him, obviously, but because I don't want to Chas v'Shalom saying it's him, Chas v'Shalom. But to that, we understand the point, right? Now, the Baal HaTurim says an unbelievable gematria, which fits into the Baal Shem Tov. Zok the Baal HaTurim. It says in the pasuk, "Vayar likim es haor ki toiv." Rebbeinu Shalom saw the light. It was good. How Baal HaTurim says es haor. Right? Esa'or ki toiv. Esa'or is gematria b'Torah, in the Torah. We see from the pasuk v'yar lekim esa'or ki toiv. According to Baal HaTurim, where did Rebbeinu Shalom put the or toiv? This good light which he hid, b'Torah, in the Torah he hid it. Baal HaTurim is saying, Mama's looking at the Baal Shem Tov and he has a gematria from the pasuk. Where is it? B'Torah, in the Torah. Or toiv. Esa'or, this light which ki toiv is good. Esa'or is gematria b'diuk. Where was it? B'Torah, in the Torah. Like we just saw in Baal Shem Tov, and Mamash, a beautiful gematria from Baal HaTurim. Now, something amazing. There's a story to Baal Shem Tov that they one time asked the Baal Shem Tov about a certain thing that that it wasn't possible that anybody could know, unless there was Ruach HaKodesh. They asked him about something, I guess it was something that will happen in the future, or something current events, but not like to tell it, whatever it was. He went like this, he opened the Sefer HaZoyer, closed it, and he told him exactly what happened. He checked afterwards exactly what he said. So he asked Rebbe, you had to open a Zoyer? No, through you open the Zoyer, through you open the Sefer HaZoyer for 1 second, you knew the future? He said, Tipshim, steht in the Gemara. It says in the Gemara in Yud Beis, Amud Aleph, that where the Rebbe Shalom hide the organos, which with the organos you can see from one world and the future, in the Torah. Through when I open the Zohar HaKadosh, I see the organos, I connect myself to the organos, and I'm able to see the future. So that, what do you see from there also, by the way? You see that the koich of the Torah, that when somebody, Torah is not just for Yediyah, Torah is for Dveikis Hashem, Torah is the Oasis of the Sheimos Hashem, it's the organos of Hashem, it's everything Torah. So somebody's going to say, whatever, listen, they don't talk about it, and then everybody they're talking about just to learn more and more, so they're wrong. So what? So thousands of people are not learning for the correct way. Never happened before, but many people make a mistake. Time to shape up and understand that learning Torah is not about finishing all the dapim and not thinking about it Rebbeinu Shalom once. It's about finishing the dapim as much as, again, the daf of the Gemara, but to think about the Rebbeinu Shalom in every single sugya. At least once during the pick your head up and say, Rebbeinu Shalom, please, the Hashem Simchas Torah, just to connect yourself to you. Not every second, we'll get to it. We'll get to that in a second, the question that how you think about Hashem when you're in the Torah itself, because you're thinking about the Torah, you're not thinking about Hashem. We'll answer that in a second. Now, hold on. I want to read to you the Ramchal. Ramchal says in Chelik Dalet Perek Beis B'Talmud Torah. This is what Ramchal says. Hinei Talmud Torah inin mukhrach. Lefi shuzulasi yefshel agiel ha'maisa ki im lo yedem ma'hu mitzuv v'shiyasei cheseu. A person has to learn Torah. He's forced to, because if he doesn't learn Torah, he won't know how to act in all situations, and he needs to. Halacha, what to do in daily life. Omnam, but Zulas calls it, besides all this, Yesh B'Talmud Tachas Gadol Shleimus Shel Adam. Learning is a huge tachas for the completion of the person, for the tikkun of the person. Why? Bichlal, and he starts in Ois Beis. Bichlal hashpois and shpois min Yisrael Torah b'Yosef yesh hashpachas al yerin b'kol hashpois. The hashpah that's higher, that Hashem gives from all hashpois, she'inyanu ha'yoser yokram ulo, it's more special and greater. Shekol ma she'ef she'imatzim min ha'tzayim, that you find in anything. V'hainu shu tachlis, it's the tachlis ma she'ef she'imatzim min ha'tzayim, v'eina matziyas amiti shel Yisbarach. The closest thing you can find in that what the Rebbeinu Shalom, Mahus Rebbeinu Shalom is, because there is no Mahus, Hashem is everything, but the closest. V'yikar, ma'ila me'ena minim Yisbarach, v'oya ma she'mechad ha'is Moshe me'apad v'yikar b'rov, and this is what the Rebbeinu Shalom gave us. What's that? V'wa Torah. Torah, like we said, is the machshir, is the machine, lahavdil, to attach yourself to Rebbeinu Shalom to the highest level. And I feel what we just said from all the svarim, it's about it, because Rebbeinu Shalom hid himself. Kilo inside the Torah. Torah is the biggest matana. Because Torah is you're giving the biggest hashpah. You're giving yourself the biggest hashpah. So you're giving yourself the Rebbeinu Shalom gave you the right to open yourself whenever you want to hear it, to give yourself hashpah. Ain't so fit, there's no end, and you have no idea, and the things, Emunah obviously, because it's a famous kasha. It says, Yagata matzata, ta'amin. Lo, Yagata lo matzata, al ta'amin. Right? The question is, let me ask a question, Nosen as a kasha, not Nosen as a kuti aloch, is a beautiful kasha. Yagata matzata, ta'amin. What do I have to believe for? I have it, I see it. Posh the kasha. Yagata matzata, ta'amin, why should I believe? I don't have to believe it, I see it already. The answer is, no. Because Torah, the Hashpos, the Torah, you don't see it. That's much later on. That's the next world. But Talmim believe that those Hashpos are huge and great and never ending, and it's worth it what you're doing. That's what Nosson answers the Kasha. This is what the Ramchal is saying. The Ramchal is going the same thing. The Torah is crap. Besides it, it's Dveikus and Hashem to be Makabel Shefa, Hashpof, Nerabani Shalom. Chevra, this is what it is. Dveikus. Nerabani Shalom. Dveikus. Now, Kasha is what we just asked before. So I wanted to say, by the way, in Sipur Maisis, before I want to answer this, Sipur Maisis with the Landkart, the Rebbe talks about the story about Landkart, and he says that the Landkart is like a map of all the worlds and everything. Maisim Minastam, if I would say it's Organos. A tzaddik, it says the tzaddik has it, because the people we just said the tzaddik could have the Organos. Organos, la'asid lavoi, you know what la'asid lavoi means? The Magam Mizrach says the pshat. La'asid lavoi. La'asid lavoi, that after you steig in Torah, shaloi l'shman, then you get to l'shman higher and higher, la'asid lavoi, you'll reach to the Organos. Organos doesn't mean la'asid lavoi, and la'asid lavoi after Mashiach. La'asid lavoi, the tzaddik could be, get the Organos over here. That's Landkart. Landkart is when the tzaddik can go and he learns Torah l'shma to the highest levels, and he's Dovlik into Oisis, the Torah of L'Shem, or he gets into Organos, and in the middle of what? He knows everything that's going to happen in the past and the future, and all these things like the Baal Shem Tov. That's Landkart. That's the map of the world. The map is the Organos. And that's possible. After the Shtaigen, after you pile a meals for Torah. What does Rashi say? To be Omu B'Torah. That's how you come to L'Shma, through a meals. Now, Kasha is, push the Kasha. I'll ask any of you, you're sitting and learning a great sugya on Shas. How many times have you thought about Hashem during the sugya? It's not your fault. You're thinking about the Svara. You're in the middle of a Reb Chaim, you're thinking about a Rishon, you're thinking about what this Tana says, you're saying, well, looking at this aspect of the Gemara. You can't, it's impossible. Like the Baal Shem Tov says, you can't have two machshavas at one time. So how do you have machshavas about thinking about Hashem and about the sugya at the same time? So Baal Shem Tov says a beautiful pshat. So the Baal Shem Tov, you don't. In the sugya, you're not thinking about Hashem. You're thinking about the sugya. But Chazal gave us a heter to learn Torah and to stop being Dovlik and Rabbanan, because it's also to stop, what do you mean? To not be Dovlik and Rabbanan is also. So if Torah, you're not even being Dovlik and Rabbanan, so because Chazal said, gave a heter, because they knew that what's the Torah? It's Chochmah. Chochmah Elokim. It's the Chochmah Rabbanan. When a person, even though while he's learning, but it makes a rosham and it cleans out his neshama, that after he finishes learning, what? He could be attach himself to the Rebbeinu Shalom on a much greater level. So is it worth it to stay on one level where you think about the neshama all the time, but it's static? Or you get much higher levels that you stop, but this purpose of the stopping is because the Torah cleans out the neshama, cleans out from all the filth, it brings us hashpah what our Ramchal just said, and when you are being davik for Rebbeinu Shalom, you're on a much higher level. Which is why I think Pshat is, or the Rebbe says, or Nachman says, there's an order. First we daven, then we learn, and then we daven. It says the lowest thing is regular tefillah, where you're davening. The middle, what's higher than tefillah is learning. Learning Torah is higher than tefillah. But what's higher than Torah? Even tefillah. What tefillah? When you go to the field and do a splitters on the Torahs that you learned. Because you're taking lefidus, it's beautiful, because the Rebbe means probably, l'chayra, according to Pshat, the Rebbe means that you're taking the tefillah, the Torah that you learned, which is the whole reason why Chazal gave you the heter to learn Torah is, according to what the Baal Shem Tov says, is because through the Torah you'll build a bigger kesher. So then what? I'm going to daven on the Torah that I built a bigger kesher on. That's Pshat the Rebbe. Tefillah Torah, tefillah. Another thing about Koach Torah, where Melech says, in a couple of places, and it's brought in Sforma Kedushin, that two Torah, when you know what the Gemara, famous Gemara says, steht in the Gemara, it says in the Gemara, that a tzaddik has the koach to be geyser and a Kosh Baruch Hu does whatever the tzaddik wants. And if the Baruch Shalom makes exerial, the koach of the tzaddik is to mevatel. Baruch Shalom gave the tzaddik that right. Avad it's all from Eibush, because Eibush wanted it that way. Zok, how for Koach Torah the Shema. Only through being dog through the Rebbe, not just Yediyas HaTorah. When you're dovek in the Rebbe Shalom, you're Neshama, everything, that's when you come to this. Indian, you could be a tzaddik, you could be mevatel everything. We spoke about the Indian of tzaddik from Sefer Midas, different shir, but we're not going to talk about the koach of tzaddik. Koach be geyser, him gehenim, different things. That's all through Torah Shema, so Torah Melech. Because you're coming into our organos. Now, there's another interesting thing. It says also, it's a dua, that through Koach HaTorah, L'shma, through being David and Rabban, you can heal. People are sick. There was a story, there was a tzaddik, that one time that people were sick, and he came over to them, and he put his fingers on them, and he healed them. They asked, what's the pshat? He said that the fingers that I was using for the Koach HaTorah, because it was, with my hands, to turn the pages, and to point at the words, and to focus, these hands, there was, what's the pshat? The kasha is, I can use Torah to heal people? You don't use Torah to heal people. Torah is not using the Torah. The Torah had such a koach that it left a roishim on his fingers, with that roishim of Kedusha that was left on his fingers, that he used to could heal people. That's the teretz. Not the Torah itself. He wasn't using the words of Torah going, Hashem, and only. Learning Torah is to be double Rebbeinu. But the koach that comes from the Torah, the shpois, which Ramchal brings, has a koach. Just to show an example of the hands of what the hands are of Torah, there's a story to Sheimos of Ger, that one time he had the biggest library in Poland before the war. One time they brought him a sefer, and he opened the sefer, a new sefer, and every time he tried to open it, it fell out of his hands. One time, two times, they saw he wasn't dropping it on purpose. And he finally said something's wrong. He gave it to his Talmud, he said, look at it, a few pages. Talmud looked at it, and he started reading to him. Sheimos says, apikarsis. The Sheimos had such kedusha in his hands had such a roish in the kedusha that he used from the Torah, looking and davening and helping and all that his hands became such kedusha they couldn't hold Tuma. They couldn't hold Tuma. Unbelievable. That's the koach. So that's what he used to be merapah the chod. That's the koach of Torah, to misdavik, not just Yediyas Torah. Now, another amazing thing, the Or Shemesh says, famous Sefer Or Shemesh. Or Shemesh says, last thing he says unbelievable thing. He says, not just that we raise ourselves to what the levels we just spoke about, but we also raise, there's levels in Shemayim, there's Malachim, higher than Malachim are Srafim, right? Right? We say it in Shachris every day. It says, by us learning Torah, we bring the Malachim to become Srafim, to higher, to become Srafim. Let's say, what's Pshat in the Gemara? Gemara, Yonis and Muziel, sagt the Gemara, in Sukkah Chav Ches Amud Aleph, that when Yonis and Muziel, then the Chavim used to learn Torah, the bird that flew over their head would be burned. I wanted to tie it into this. Who flies? Who's called a flyer also, something that flies? A malach. It says in Daniel, bring you a pasuk, famous pasuk in Daniel. Daniel, Perek Tes, pasuk Chaf Aleph, Va'ish Gavriel, malach Gavriel, Moyev Ba'af, who flies. I want to say, who's the bird? Bird is not a bird, a skama bird. It means a malach. The malach that from the Torah of Yonis Mizil, the malach, what happened? Nisraf. Not that he became bird, he became a sraf, he became from a malach into the asrafim. That's what Pshat the Gemara in Yonis Mizil. The mamish see the koach Torah, unbelievable. To end off, I just wanted to bring off, you have a few minutes, I don't want to hold you back. Show one, the Hel Gerebo. Zok the Hel Gerebo. First Torah in the Kutam Rabbi says, breast live, tefillah, we just said, this breast is longest. Rabbi used to finish, before Shachris, Rabbi already finished every single day, 6 pages, 6 dafim of Shulchan Aruch with all the Nesei Kelim. Before Shachris we're talking about. 6 with all the Nesei Kelim. And all the longest, obviously, and everything. Zok to Rebbe and Torah Aleph, Asher Tmimei Derech HaChochim, Torah Hashem. Da, no, ki ha'idei Torah through the Torah niskabel kol tefillas, all our tefillas are accepted. V'chol ha'bakoshes shel mevakshim u'mispalim, and all what our bakoshes that we ask and pray. And that's also the chin of tefillah, Torah tefillah, because we have to bring the tefillas from the Torah, because the Torah is what our tefillah is like miskabel for the Torah we're learning. The Rebbe explains why. The Rebbe says. The Rebbe gives up, I don't want to go through why, because that literally is the whole Torah, and could take about an hour share just that. The point is the Rebbe has a whole idea of about where Malchus is, and Torah is Malchus, and Malchus by us is not now, it's in the Goyim's hands, but we could bring Malchus to us through the Torah, and Tefillah without Malchus, and Chen is not a Tefillah, so the Torah brings the Malchus and Chen into the Tefillah. I'm just saying, it sounds like just words, but I can explain this Torah in depth. Maybe one day we'll give a share on just Torah Aleph to show. But the Rebbe says, like this, one thing I do want to bring down. Ki ishi Yisraeli, the Rebbe says, the Jewish man, tzarech tamid, always needs to leistakel, to look ba'seichel shakol davar, to look into the seichel of every single thing. Ulekasher atzmei l'chochma v'seich sheyesh b'chol davar, and attach himself to this certain seichel, in this certain thing. Kedei sheyar le'aseichel sheyesh b'chol davar l'skar l'shem yisborach l'oisei hadavar. Ki ha'seichel hu ha'or godol mer l'b'chol derachav. What's seichel? Seichel is or. Seichel is from the Rebbeinu Shalom, it's the neshama. What's seichel? Seichel is the Rebbeinu Shalom. It's seichel, the chochma, ki'ilu, l'havdil, kaviyach. When a person, this happens in his life, and this thing, everything that happens, every second, is hashgacha pratis. Why? Like it says in Arizal, that even the smallest thing has an neshama in it, and that neshama and that thing has to do with your nitzitzis, and Hashem sends you in these places. Zok the Rebbe, Nachman says, everywhere you go, and everything that happens to you, look into the seichel of that thing, because that seichel there really is a likus over there. And it's for you, it's sending you a sign. What's emunah? Emunah is 3 things. Emunah is knowing there's a Rebbeinu Shalom. The second thing is knowing that everything is for the best, which is bitochen, more bitochen. But the third thing is Rebbeinu Shalom. Now that I have bitochen, everything's for the good. Show me, what are you sending me? What am I supposed to learn from this? That's seichel and everything. That's tachlis in this world. So Dr. Rebbe, how do you come to that tachlis? Through Torah. Because what's Torah from the Ramchal and the Noam Melech, everything? Torah is this seichel. Torah is this malchus. Torah is this thing of being David Rebbeinu Shalom. Torah gives you this chochma and seichel to see into everything. So when you see into the seichel of everything, that's bechin and malchus and chen, which mameli tefillah will be accepted. Why it's like that? That's a whole different shir. But this is the Rebbe starts off, and it's a known thing that Rav Nachman wrote every single Torah, one after the other, because each one was connected in a certain way, in Kabbalah ways that nobody understands. But there's a reason why he starts off the first Torah, Makut Ram. And even though the Rebbe talks about the spiders all the time, which the Rebbe says spiders is the greatest thing. But that's the spiders with which it comes from the Torah. Tefillah. Spiders are the only Gedolim Nakol. Yeah. But when you have the Kalim, that tefillah should be accepted through Torah. So looking at the Seichel and everything with the Torah. To be Dod, your Rebbeinu Shalom. As Hashem, we should be Zoicha. First, we should be Zoicha to learn without Gaiva. First, we should be Zoicha to learn without Gaiva and without... and then we should try to be Moichik just for Yediyah and to be Dod with your Rebbeinu Shalom and all so forth. And it's an endless job. And Bezrat Hashem, we should be Zoicha. And when a kid does come to us, we should have the brains to tell the kid and sit him down and say how beautiful his question is, even though he's asking the most amaratzistic question, because that's not Torah. Torah is not about the question. It's about what could come out of the question. Torah is about the dveikus of the question. That's Torah. That's Torah Gedosha. We should all be Zocheh B'ezrat Hashem to Torah Shema. Like it says that also the Golus is going to come to an end. The Torah L'Shema. Torah L'Shema is to Davik Rebbeinu Shalom. It's Pasha. Davik Rebbeinu Shalom. Davik and Emunah. Davik and everything. It's all one big, nice party. We should all be Zocheh B'ezrat Hashem. Shnesked, Trigul, Mer, B'Yamein, from Takas Adinim. Through no hard judgments, only from Takas Adinim. Amen.